Hello, creative Tartanites, and welcome to Friday Live Fun, or Fun Friday Live even. See, it's been so long, I've forgotten what it's even called. Right, I'm in Google Hangouts today. I'm only using the one camera. I confess I've done this because I didn't leave myself enough time to actually set up all my cameras. And I figured that because I'm only really going to be doing clouds, I didn't really think that there would be that much advantage to having a second camera on the palette. And it's really, to me, clouds are more about your attitude and how you feel about painting your clouds rather than it actually being a particular technique. But obviously I'll reveal a little bit more as we go along. As you can see, I'm in Scotland, so I've actually got a big cardigan on today because it's cold and I refuse to put my heating on because it's the summer. So I'm going to see if I can get into the right bit now and actually view what I'm looking at. See if I can get the comments and what have you. So let me see if I can actually figure this part out. I suspect I'm probably going to have to go into my channel. I'm sorry about this because it's been a while since I've done this particular way. So let me see. Since I've done this particular way. Right. Okay. Hello. Hello. Mona. Hi, Laura. Hello. Right. So let's get the Google Hangouts over where it's meant to be. There we go. So if I look up at the screen, I will see me in real time and not the delayed version that you currently see, but I'll be able to see the messages. So how are you guys today? How's it going? Are we ready to learn how to paint clouds without tearing our hair out? Yay! Okay, so today I'm using my Space Wet palette as always. I have my board over here and I'm using one camera today. As I've already said, I really didn't give myself enough time to set up, and I also realized that I've been out with my camera just recently and I forgot to recharge my spare battery, so I suspect that my battery might not have lasted the duration to be able to do this particular live. Excuse me, just needed a drink. Right, so are there any questions before we get started? Mona says it's yes, we are ready. Love the title. Fantastic. Brilliant. Glad. Very glad. Right. I'll just get set up and then I'll check if there's any questions. Going to get my trusty I don't even know what it's called. My bendy thingy bobby. And I am going to put my hand over the camera so nobody gets dizzy when I'm moving it. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Ta-da! Hello, Michael Ann. How are you today? Right. This is not very helpful because it's a little bit too close. There we go. There we go. Oh, hello, Thorny Gates. Hi there. Not seen you for ages. In fact, I've not seen anybody for ages. Let me get this light switched on. There we go. A little bit more light onto the actual paper. So, today, clouds. Now, there's loads of different ways to paint in your clouds. Loads of different tools that can be used. I've got some examples of different clouds here that I've done. So this is one. Now notice when you actually have it further back, it looks completely different than if you have it really close up to the camera. Look how you can see those brush strokes. So I think first and foremost, what I'd like to warn people about today is please remember that when you're painting clouds, you're probably at this kind of distance from your paper. So you're probably looking at this thinking, oh, I can't paint clouds. This is rubbish. I suck. Step back, then look at it. Then do you see your clouds? Here's another example. Let me just grab my example. Here's another example. So close up, you're painting and you're probably thinking, oh, this is rubbish. I can't paint clouds. Look at it from a distance. Are you seeing the clouds now? I hope this makes sense, and I hope this above anything else, even if you don't watch the rest of the video, if you've just joined in and this is what you're wanting to learn how to paint clouds, this is essentially what I'm teaching today, that when you're up here, your clouds don't necessarily look like clouds. Take a step back and I bet you will find your clouds. So that's me done for the day. Bye, folks. No, I'm only kidding. I mean, essentially, that's what I'm teaching today, but I'm also going to give you a demonstration as well. So don't worry about that, folks. I'm just kidding. I'm not really going away. Right, and I've also realized that because I'm using Google Hangouts today, rather than going through my OBS, I really need to be wary of the fact that I'm actually on the speaker or the mic from the actual webcam, which is right at my face. Right, I'm just having a look at the messages. Lots of people saying hi. That's fantastic. I'm so glad. My teeth back, and I'm so grateful and so glad that you can join me today. Right, so colours. Let's just take a brief talk about colours. When you're looking at the sky can be all sorts of different colours. Now, there's a phthalo turquoise that could potentially be used. We've also got cerulean blue, which can be used. And if I can find it, here we are. That is an ultramarine blue as well. So, you know, when you're looking at your sky, you decide what kinds of blues you're going to have in it. Let's bring these examples back up. I think the background of this, the blue in this, is probably a combination of cerulean blue as well as, I want to keep saying royal, it's not royal, ultramarine blue. Here, this is ultramarine blue. And here you've got cerulean blue, and there's probably some turquoise in there as well. So, you know, when you're thinking about your sky and you're thinking about the colors, these are the, you know, just pick what colors you see. So yeah, sorry, I just again checking the messages. There are two different whites that can be used. That's not white, that's bright orange. We've got titanium white. Now I'm going to use the Jackson's Art own make of the titanium white today. And this is more of a fluid paint. It's not fluid in the sense that it doesn't, it's a soft-bodied paint. That's probably more accurate. Soft-bodied. It's not as thick as my golden paints. Sorry, I'm looking in my box as well for things, because the other thing to use is like mixing white or a zinc white. So with the different whites, you can have your different consistencies. You can have your different opacities, because you're mixing white and your zinc white, these kinds of whites, they're going to give you more of a glazing, and your soft-bodied and perhaps your titanium white and the golden is a lot thicker, and so you're going to get a lot thicker with the brush stroke. So bring this back up here, hopefully you can see just in here, you will see that you can see the brush strokes a little bit better if it will focus on it. But in this little area here, that's a little bit thicker. And don't be afraid to use different colors in your sky. And again, it's really about looking at your reference picture. Do not be afraid to grab a reference picture if you need to have a reference picture to then do your clouds, because you've got different types of clouds. You've got your big sort of thick fluffy clouds. These could be potentially stormy clouds because there's lots of colour in them. And then you've got your kind of wispy parts that look like they're just floating about, wispy like in the actual sky itself. Now, there's different ways to do that. So let's kind of talk about brushes. This kind of brush, which is very well worn, it's really it's a cheap brush that was never really very good in the first instance, but this can be particularly good for doing your clouds, because you can really get that whole sort of really scrumbling in there without actually worrying about ruining your brush, because it's already ruined, because it's cheap and nasty, and I love it for that. These kinds of brushes, these are the kinds of brushes that I'll use for my medium as well. You know, when I'm using my golden medium to put things onto paper, like the gel medium, like this. So I tend to use these rubbish brushes for that kind of thing too. But if you don't have one of these, you know, you don't need to worry about necessarily getting it, because you can still do do clouds with any kind of brush. I don't think that there's a right or a wrong answer to this. The other thing that I have, if I can find them, and I haven't actually used these yet, which is a bit shame on me, is the cloud brushes from the Art Sherpa. So these are another, but really all this is just a really hardy bristles that will allow you to scumble without ruining your brush. That's essentially it. The other thing that you can do is use what's the word I'm looking for? Sponges. That's the word I'm looking for. So you can use sponges as well. Yes, shame on me. Shame on me. Shame on me, Mona. Definitely. So any questions so far? I know that's a lot of information that I've just given without actually doing anything on the paper yet. But I really did want to just get that out of the way. One of the other things that I wish I had gotten out of the way, I'm really not organized at all today, and that is for the gesso. So I'm just going to quickly put on, oh, might help if I gave it a good shake. I'm just going to quickly put on some gesso because I don't need to wait for it to dry. I just need it on the paper. Right. Brush. Brush, 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 brush. Oh, there it's there. I think I'll just use this this rubbish brush, because this lesson really ties in with the how to paint a bit more loosely, because this is a project that you don't really need to think too long and hard about. It doesn't have to be absolutely accurate. It really doesn't. And you can have a lot of fun with this. So just making sure that I've got reasonably good coverage with the gesso, like so. That's the only downside of cheap brushes, is that they will shed their hairs. Usually after a while it stops shedding hairs, but every now and then mine just seems to throw out a little one. It's a bit sort of ha-ha on the brushes side of things, of course. Likes to throw a spanner in the works every now and then. So there we go, that's the gesso on. I'm just going to pop out some of my mixing white and my titanium white. So the mixing white is more of a glazing, and the titanium white is more opaque. So that's that. I'm putting out some cerulean blue. I'm going to put out some ultramarine blue, pardon me, and I'm going to put out some, maybe some turquoise as well, just to give just a different flavour. Right, there we are. So I've got my cat's tongue. Any questions? Got some white, greyish, fluffy clouds in the sky here right now. Yes, We've got some very black clouds in the sky right now, very stormy clouds, unfortunately. In fact, I wonder. Yeah. It's very, you can't really see the clouds at the moment. They're there because they're very thick and grey, but it's that dense, you can't really see the clouds. They just look, it's just a thick grey sky, really, because it's wet and raining and horrible. So okay, so here's my palette. I am going to take a little bit of the cerulean blue with some of the titanium white, and I'm just going to shove it on. So first and foremost, this is the first kind of layer of the painting. And truth be told, you could actually, now depending on what you want to do, but you could actually start, and this is just the zinc white, you could start to put the clouds in. So that shows you what the zinc white does, and this, you can see, gives you much heavier bodied clouds. So there's the zinc white again. Really doesn't do an awful lot, but what it does do is it mixes in with the clouds, at the blue at the background. So I'm just going to take that particular part out. And because I've been messing about with it too much, you can see the paper shining through again. Might take a little bit of the other blue now and show you the differences. So there's the ultramarine blue. And you can see the difference that it makes. Like so. And I'm not really caring too much about it. That is actually phthalo green. I thought it was phthalo blue I put out. That's phthalo turquoise, that's what it is. So sometimes I will just add in other things, because sometimes things will actually reflect in the sky. So sometimes I will just play about with it, particularly when I'm painting more loosely. I will just add things in, as in when I go. So you can see the differences. Any questions so far? Any questions about blues? Hello, Dina. How are you? I hope you're well today. Now, the difference again with the zinc white, if I take some of the cerulean blue and I grab some of the zinc white and I mix that instead of the titanium white, you can see how much more translucent that layer is. So again, it's allowing for the translucency. Is that a word? Yes, translucency. Tis now. So again, today is about really experimenting with your paints, your blues, your colors, and you know, if you really were a mind to, you could. Now, I've got an orange here. This is a cadmium orange. This is quite a serious orange. So that's what happens when you add in different colours. It's becoming a bit greyer because I've added the blue. But I'm just showing you what kind of results can happen when you use your different paints. It's very greyed out, as you can see. If I add in more blue, there you go. So this isn't about showing you how to get the perfect sky. I'm just really showing you what is possible with the different blues. And what kind of effects that you actually get with the blues, with when you start adding other colours in. Because if you were to put the orange on, you could get that to stand out. So it could potentially be anything you want it to be. Dina is asking, which blue do you prefer using? In all honesty, I don't have a preference. What I prefer to do is add a little bit of both, is my honest answer to that. Because I think you get such different looks. However, my favourite blue, if I was to choose, if I could only afford to buy one blue, which blue would it be? It would be the ultramarine. And the reason I would pick the ultramarine is because I have yet to find another blue that you can add to burnt umber to make a black. It's as simple as that. I have yet to find another blue that I can add to burnt umber to make black. So when I'm making my greys, I'm using the ultramarine blue in order to add it to burnt umber, which makes the black. I then add it to I add the white to it, making it grey. My turquoise, I tend to use more in seascapes, for the sea. But I can use it in a sky. So there we go. So that's that. One of the other colours that can be really nice in a sky is actually a magenta. Now, realistically, you probably wouldn't be putting every single colour that I'm showing you today in your painting. But you never know, you might. That might be the look that you're going for. You might decide to do it that way. And that's absolutely perfectly fine. Grabbing. Oh, oh no! I've just spilt paint water on my jeans. That's what I get for not wearing my pinny. Right. Just getting one of the brushes cleaned. And the other one. Right. So, pink in the sky. So there's a bit of magenta. If you add a little bit of the ultramarine blue, you then start getting your purples, your lilacs. Oh, nearly dropped the paintbrush. So, oh, that's interesting. That's not really showing up particularly well on camera. It just looks dark. This bit here doesn't really look particularly purple. That's interesting. So if I change that like that, make it a bit more purple. Oh, it's still not coming up as purple. It looks blue. Huh, that's interesting. Right. Okay. If you don't like the camera moving, don't look, because I'm going to move it forward. If I can get it out. Oh, there we go. Yep, even moving it closer isn't going to show you it's purple. It just looks blue, and that looks grey, but it's not. Isn't that interesting? Okay. Maybe not the best camera then to be showing you this. Never mind. Yes, camera colour is never as good in person. No, you're right. Hello, Rachel. Hello. Rachel's asking, why do you go live when I'm busy? Because it's the time that I've got to be able to go live. That's why. Right, so clouds. Sometimes it's just a case of just having the right attitude to do the clouds. And rather than expecting the clouds to actually happen in one layer, we need lots of different layers. So yes, and that's the other thing, Rachel. I've just seen Mona said that it's a time when Tanya is not busy and with something else. When you're busy, Rachel, you're not video conferencing me, so it's the time that I get peace to do it. I'm only kidding, Rachel. You know I don't mind talking to you. Rachel, by the way, folks, is my daughter, in case you're wondering. That's why I can get away with certain things. Right, okay, so moving swiftly on. Clouds. Remember that in reality, clouds are very 3D. They have lots of different sizes. So if you think about, okay, so let's do this. If you think about a box, right? There is a box. It's not the best box, but there's the box, okay? It's got different sides. Well, so's a cloud, right? A cloud has different sides. So it's got the side, the top, the underneath. When we're looking at them, chances are we're probably not really seeing the underneath, but we're seeing the effects of the underneath. So if we're thinking about an actual cloud, clouds generally have that dark part underneath. So I'm going to shade that dark part underneath, and they tend to have quite a flat underside. Even when we're seeing them from below, we're really seeing quite a flat shape at the underneath side. And then we have another layer. And sometimes, if we can get in when it's still wet, we can kind of get this effect. And we can go dark, light, dark, light. So then you can see it's starting to build up. And then maybe there's a little wispy cloud up here. And because the background is now dry, I can be thinking about maybe using the zinc white. And thinking about, well, what would that do? If it doesn't work, then you go back in with the titanium white. Now, I don't know if you can see exactly what I'm doing with my actual brush, but I'm not letting it sit for any length of time. I'm kind of twisting it, rolling it. And that's a way that I've found that really starts to help me with my clouds. Now, this is my cat's tongue. Just reading the messages now. So Mona's saying that that's how the clouds look like right here. Sorry, like here right now. A flat greyish colour underneath and fluffy white on top. Oh, right, Mona's going to be back shortly. Her computer needs to restart. Thorny says, I've always loved clouds, yet the first time I heard that they're flat on the bottom, I had to look. Done that while driving. Yes. I mean, they're not completely flat, like, you know, they can still, again, I guess, consist of a little bit of, you know, it's not like smooth flat, but they are flat. It's just the way we perceive that they're not from underneath because of how we see them. But when you think about what they actually are and how they actually form, it's water in the sky. And I guess it's a little bit of an optical illusion as well. And I think people have a tendency to really struggle with clouds because they're looking at clouds as a way of that they, when they're painting them, they need to look like clouds up close. But actually, the reality is, as I said earlier, when you look at them close, it doesn't look like a cloud until you actually look from a distance. So again, here was the other example. These don't really look like clouds. You can see they're quite painterly brushstrokes. From a distance, there they are. Now, these are very sort of round, and I still haven't found my burnt umber yet for some reason. Right, come on, burnt umber, where are you? I found my yellow ochre, I found every other colour but my burnt umber. I'll just have to use my golden one. Right, so I'm just putting out a tiny little bit of burnt umber. You can use black if you wanted to use black, but I like to make my own black because you get a different variation of colours. So burnt umber, blue, and some white gives us that grey. And like I said, sometimes just using the brush is enough. And even within the clouds higher up, there can still be those grey areas. But I think it's really helpful to think of it as layers rather than as a flat surface. So you can see how the clouds are starting to really starting to take shape. Now with this brush, I'm obviously doing lots of sort of very roundish shapes because clouds are kind of, they've got that sort of roundy, cotton ball-y look. However, there is absolutely nothing to stop you from doing your clouds with a flat or a bright or whatever brush you actually have. So I'm going to sort of think about the clouds here. And I'm just using the brush strokes to try and give me that effect. Now this particular green sort of grey here is got a little bit of greenish shade to it because it's a little bit more with a cerulean blue in it. So as you can see, it's a bit of a different look to that particular cloud, but it still looks like a cloud. Michael Ann says that brush looked really nice. I've been trying to get one, but it's kind of spendy. Yes, that's the thing with brushes, isn't it? We could end up with all sorts of money spent, can't we? So any other questions? So you can see that's still a cloud, but it's different to this one. You could have a combination of the two different types of brush strokes if you wanted to. And there's nothing to stop you from mixing a little bit of your two different types of white. And then you can just skip that across the page like that to get your kind of wispy bits. So there's that. Again, nothing wrong with adding a little bit of the sky colour in. Like so. And that cloud is starting to really kind of pile up, probably bigger than a cloud should be, but that's absolutely fine because I don't care. And I think that's probably another key feature of being able to paint clouds without tearing your hair out. So I hope this is resonating with you guys, and I hope that there's a little bit of takeaway from this. Right. When I'm doing that kind of brushwork, I don't like using my good brushes. So I am going to switch back to my cat's tongue, which is so hardy, it can survive even me. So does anyone feel that they could be maybe a bit more confident with painting clouds now? Is there anything in particular that you would like me to go over? Anything in particular that you would like me to show you? Now, there's another kind of technique. If you are looking to put in the wispy ones, there's me putting on the cerulean blue, and it's still reasonably wet. So then you just grab some of your white, and then you can kind of mix it in, a little like when you're doing the water. Can you show wispy clouds? Yeah, I heard you without even I heard you without doing it. Right, so that's one way of doing wispy clouds. The other way is when it's dry, mix in a little bit of your zinc white with your titanium white. And what that does is it increases the opacity even of your zinc white, and decreases the opacity of your titanium white, which will then allow you to kind of do a little bit more of a kind of skip across the page. So I'm not really leaning very hard. So you see that? That gives you some really wispy. Thorny says that she's just got some zinc white. Yeah, the zinc white on its own is probably not going to do anything. But if you add a little bit of titanium white, that just increases the opacity a little bit and allows you to really get those, you know, when you've got the, sometimes you'll see them and they will have maybe that kind of now you can see my paint is still wet underneath, so that's what's making it easier to blend. Does that help, Michael Ann? Mona says, I used to have mixing white. I still got it, but now I also have zinc white. Have not tried that yet. Well, zinc white, mixing white, pretty much the same thing, really, if I'm honest. Mixing white is probably a little bit kind of like your student paints, so in the sense that it's a little bit cheaper than zinc white, but you're probably looking at the same sort of opacity. Some people use zinc white, other people use mixing white, but it's essentially kind of the same thing anyway. The final thing that I was going to show you, wasn't it, was actually using the cloud brushes. So I'm going to do a little cloud down here. So I think it's exactly the same principle that I've already shown you. You can either put it on with the cloud brush and sort of scumble it in, or alternatively you can simply put the colour on like so, and you can kind of scumble it about if you feel the need to. So I've just added some white, and as you can see, it's kind of mixing on the page, which is kind of cool. But it's about finding the way that works for you. So it's quite an interesting cloud forming there. I mean, if you think about the actual cloud itself, when you see those very illustrative clouds, that's what they look like, isn't it? And then you've got the rain coming down from it. So that's essentially all you're doing, is you've got that kind of shape in your mind. You think about the bottom part as being dark. There might be a little bit of light underneath it where the something is shining off of it. And then you've got your sort of mid-tone. And then on top of that, you have your white. And don't be afraid to really pop it if you need to. So there you go. I hope that this has really kind of helped you to loosen up and be a bit more at peace with your ability to make clouds. There we go. Might even put a little more pink. There. Let me get my cloud brush cleaned. Sorry, you're not really hearing anything, are you? I'm just la 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 in my own head right now. Okay. So while we're here, obviously this is it's just a demonstration. It's not a painting. It's not going to look like anything. I'm hoping that it's given you some insight into how you can build up the clouds, what sort of brush strokes that you can use. This one up here is much drier now, so there is nothing to stop me from going back onto it and adding in maybe this one's got a little bit of an orange reflection from somewhere. There's the titanium white again. So do you see now that it doesn't matter what brush stroke you use, it doesn't matter what brush you use or what colours you use, so long as you think about the principles of that it is many layers. And if you think about your clouds as being quite flat at the bottom and then kind of piling up, then there's no reason why you can't have really cool clouds. Before I put the camera back where it was, is anybody wanting me to show them anything else on this painting? So Mona's taken a photo of the clouds that we have here now, so she can use that as a reference. That's fantastic, brilliant. That's exactly what to do. Obviously, I haven't gone with a reference today. I just wanted to show you the different techniques. But never fear, we are going to do a painting that actually involves clouds. That will be a proper lesson, and it will result in a proper painting at the end of it. So that should be fun. In fact, I'm thinking it might be the next one that I do. Oh, there's absolutely nothing wrong with needing a lesson, needing a reference, Mona. Absolutely not. Today was really about just me demonstrating. I didn't really want to get bogged down in the nitty gritty and the details of a reference. I just wanted to really demonstrate just how easy it is to get a cloud, but use those principles with a reference, if that makes sense. Yes, absolutely. You're spot on, Mona. This is about really helping with getting that looseness, getting that that sort of free flowing painterly look, very like this. This has actually become one of my favorite paintings, I have to say. I really enjoyed this one, and this one was one of the ones that was done live. So if you haven't already seen it, it's on my channel. So it doesn't look like anybody's really got anything else that they want to see me demonstrate, so that's good. Hopefully this has helped. As you can see, the sky, sorry, is really very dark. But as I said, this was more about the clouds rather than the actual sky itself. But we will be doing a painting, and I will do a lesson that will actually result in you having a full painting at the end of it, and probably a really fun painting at the end of it as well. So I'm just going to pop the camera back. I'll be with you in just 1 second. Ta-da! There we go. Put you down a bit. There we are. Let's get this off because it's probably blinding you. There we go. So there we have it. I really do hope that that has helped you some way, because I really believe that sometimes our lack of moving forward or getting to our goals is actually more about our attitudes and how we feel about things rather than the actual techniques themselves. So I'm really trying to demonstrate that as much as technique is helpful, and it is part of the learning process, it is not the most essential part. For me, the most essential part is actually how we think about ourselves, the world, and others. And if we don't believe in ourselves, we're not going to believe that our clouds actually look like clouds, and so we're just going to throw away stuff that is actually perfectly fine. I know I've probably done it myself. Michael Anna's saying that she's a messy painter. Michael Anna's asking, is messy the same as loose? Well, I guess it depends on what your definition of messy is. And what your definition of neat is. You can still be painterly and be neat, but you're not necessarily getting bogged down with the details. So what it boils down to is your perceptions. Mona says that you have been great with demonstrating, Tanya, and it has helped. I am so glad about that. Can you see how messy my hair is today? I've got a bit of a wild child look going on today. In fact, oh, funny story. I literally just got out of the shower and was in the process of drying myself down when the doorbell went. I had to quickly find something to throw on to go and answer the door. It was a parcel had arrived, so yeah, that was an embarrassing moment. That would fit in with our question of the day yesterday, wouldn't it? For the Creative Tatanite Tribe, which, if you're not already a member of, why don't you go and check out the Creative Tatanite Tribe on Facebook? I'm sure Mona will pop up the link for us. But I think everybody that's here at this moment in time is actually a member of the Creative Tatanite Tribe. Oh, tomorrow is going to be the announcement of the new challenge for the group. So if you like challenges, and bear in mind that the group isn't all about painting. My Facebook group, whilst I do a lot of painting demonstrations and things, and painting is a very big thing. By the way, you can see that I'm almost finished my portrait in the back. Would anybody like me to bring it forward to let you see it a little bit closer? Because I'll bring it forward if you like. So yeah, as much as I love painting and I really you know, get a lot out of painting. I'm also a photographer. I also do other things. You know, we did weaving. That's what our challenge was in May. So the weaving challenge is now done, but that was fun to do. And there has been some absolutely awesome there's been awesome photographs in the group, so I'm really grateful. And I'm getting a yes, they would like to see the painting. So there we go. There is my painting. There's not an awful lot left to do. It's really about just the finishing touches. So making sure that the hat doesn't look like an afterthought, and making the kind of cloudy, dreamy like part actually fit, because it's a very crisp line here, and it's to decide where the softness is actually going to start and finish. So there you go. That is my painting almost done. Thank you guys, really appreciate that. So, oh hello Joe, hello. Any quick questions before we go? This has been a particularly quick demonstration because it didn't really need anything complicated. I think the secret to not tearing our hair out when we're painting clouds isn't the technique. It's yeah, unfortunately you have, Joe, sorry. But having said that, you know, it's going to be around. It's not going to go away, so you'll be able to watch on the replay. It's been a very short one today because I really do believe that in terms of clouds, I really don't think that there is anything that technical about painting clouds. It's really about our belief in ourselves, and also to remember that it's about layering. So there's nothing to stop you from layering a little bit of a dark patch on top of a light patch, and then putting a light patch on and building up those layers to make it look 3D. And there is nothing wrong with using a reference. So if you want to have a particular reference, then find one, take photographs of the clouds yourselves, and go for it. My next live session is going to be taking what we've learned about the clouds. I'm going to add a little bit more of another lesson in with it, but we're going to take what we learned from the clouds. We're going to have a cloud background, and there's going to be an object in that in the sky, which all will become apparent when I actually do the lesson, because it will then tie on to the next stage of learning how to be a bit more painterly and learning to let go a little bit, and being looser with our paint strokes, our brush strokes. Mona's just noticed that she's got dried yellow ochre on her sleeve. Works indeed. Works indeed. So, any last questions before I go? Could be anything at all. I really appreciate that you've hung out with me. So as a reward, you can ask me anything. It can be about painting, it can be about photography, it can be about anything at all. Any questions? It could be about the Facebook group, the Creative Tartanite Tribe. It could be anything. Does anybody have any questions? Mona says, oh, anything. Good one. Mona's got one. Excellent. I'm waiting in anticipation. Ooh, the suspense, the suspense. Michael Ann has asked, any chance for another paint along sometime? Was fun on the last one. Well, Michael Ann, I can make the next one, which is going to be the utilising the clouds. I can do that as a paint along if you like, because it's very, very easy. Oh, Mona. Oh, you're wanting me to reveal secrets. Would you like the next one to be about photography? You are cheeky. You are very cheeky, but that's all right. That's what I love about you. So yeah, Michael, and if you'd like me to do the next one as a paint along, I'm more than happy to do the next one as a paint along. I can make sure that everybody knows which colours and what have you that they need to have, and we can do the next one as a paint along. I'm so glad that you enjoyed it as a paint along, Michael Ann. I really, really, really am glad about that. It's always fun to paint with friends instead of just all by myself in my lonesome studio for one. Rachel says, have I missed all of it? Yeah, you have, but that's okay, Rachel. You can watch on the replay. Don't forget to hit that like, and if you are looking to get notifications, then please do subscribe and hit that bell for notifications. So I think that's it, folks. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. And if you're watching on the replay and you have got to this point, you are absolutely awesome. You are a star. You're fantastic. And I hope you have gained something out of being here. Yes, and join my club if you haven't already, which is the Creative Tartanite Tribe, and there is a link in the chat. So there we go, guys. I'm determined to get you all to be painting a nice portrait, very loose style. So hopefully we'll get there. And I think doing this clouds demonstration today is going to help you with the paint along the next time round. I can't remember if I'm working on next Friday or not. If I'm not working next Friday, it will be next Friday. But I will actually schedule this one. So you guys know. So if you don't see it, it means it's not happening. All right. So I will check to make sure I'm not working, and if I'm not working, then I will schedule it in for next Friday. Mona says, have a great weekend, everyone, and stay creative. Yes, and don't forget, look after your mental well-being, because only you can. All right. Take care, everybody, and I hope to see you all in the Creative Tartanite Tribe. So have a great weekend. I'm working this weekend, so think of me. Bye for now. Where's my mouse so that I can click off? Bye.